Hey guys, it's here bringing you another video. Now welcome to Huzzy Games patch note breakdown. Excuse that we're like a day late. Basically yesterday we released the Gwen video, so instead of having this as the second video, I wanted to get at least one live commentary out per day. So because we had the Gwen video, I wanted the second video to be the live commentary. So today we're doing the patch notes. So excuse that it's a day late, but that's why. So before we get into it, let's look at the highlights. So it seems to be a pretty big patch. So we got nerfs to Alistar, Hecarim, Ivern, Kai'Sa, Rel, Thresh, Udyr, Tristana. We have buffs then to a lot of champions. Amumu, Ashe, Brom, Kindred, Lissandra, Mordekaiser, Tito, Varus, Yasuo buffs, and YORICK. Out of those, the YORICK ones interest me because I am starting to feel the top lane tingle again. So we'll see what the YORICK ones are. We have the Space Groove skins, which look a little bit funky. And obviously there is one that's not showing here because Gwen, the upcoming new champion, her release skin, I believe, is also Space Groove as well. So that will be coming later. And then obviously item changes. We've got Essence Reaver, Lord Dominic's Regard, whatever the hell Grudge, Turbo Chem Tank, EVERFROST, and Triforce. Now, a lot of you will obviously recognize a lot of these items have been buffed and now they're getting nerfed. Again, that has been the pattern of this season's patches, is especially with items that they take underused items, they overbuff them, and then they're too strong, and then they have to nerf them again. There hasn't really been a state of just like, oh, they've buffed it to be balanced. It's always they're buffing it to be too strong. But hopefully that will calm some stuff today. So let's get into it. So Alistar, who I like. Again, Alistar throughout the history of League has been one of my best supports, and you guys have actually enjoyed Alistar episodes throughout the years. But anyway, Q base damage decreased later, E empowered basic attack bonus deals bonus damage also decreased, so he is getting nerfed. Arguably, you know, Alistar and Leona I think did get hurt somewhat with the introduction of Rel, because a lot of people just prefer Rel now in that kind of tank support slot. But we saw earlier she's getting nerfed as well. So the damage from Ali is same at rank 1. Small damage nerf then from rank 2 onwards. And actually a 20 damage nerf at max rank. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but base damage is Alistar's damage. Because he doesn't build AP or AD for his spells. He builds tank. So the base damage is the damage that he's dealing. So any base damage nerf is quite substantial. So that is going to be a pretty big nerf to Alistar. And then the E, obviously the empowered attack, when you press trample E, it takes a little while for it to ramp up, and then you get a big auto that stuns the target. That also did more damage as an auto. It's now dealing, it was doing 35 to 290 bonus magic damage depending what level you were. It's now doing 20, so a 15 damage nerf from level 1. Obviously you don't take E usually at level 1 anyway. But doing a maximum of 275 damage at level 18. So at just level 18, if an Alistar makes it there, they're taking off, what, 15 damage from his E and 20 damage from his Q. 35 damage for something that's base damage. That is going to hurt the champion a little bit. And obviously you're not playing Alistar for damage, you're playing him for tank and utility, but that will, Alistar people I think will feel that nerf a little bit, especially in lane phase where you're really closely trading. Sometimes the support damage does make the difference of the kill or not, and now that you're getting damage nerfs for Alistar, that is going to hurt. Amumu, so how the mighty have fallen. If you guys remember the beginning of the season, Amumu was the king, and everyone's like, what the hell's happened? And that was like the Leandries with the demonic. Oh no, was it Sunfire demonic? Whatever it was crazy how much damage and tankiness Amumu got. They obviously then mega nerfed him, and we haven't seen Amumu for months. Or a couple months. So the Q Banish Toss, they are making it less mana heavy. 20 mana, that's quite substantial because his mana costs were quite high. And then the cooldown for his E is also getting a nice 1 second buff. So that's going to help him. Is it going to bring Amumu back to what he was? No. This is just probably going to help Amumu players. Like, you have to remember, there's two types of buffs and nerfs in League. One, we're really wanting this to become meta, or we're really wanting to nerf this because it's too meta. It's got too much dominance. Or there's like this, that, he's around. This is more for the people that like Amumu, that want to continue playing him, but he's a bit weak at the moment. And that's what that kind of is. So it's still important to do. Ashe. Our cooldown decrease later. So it is a 10-second buff from rank 2, and then a 20-second buff on rank 3. So with a little bit of ability haste, this Ash Arrow, man, is going to be up on cooldown a lot. Like, at base cooldown, it's going to be 1 minute per arrow at max rank level 16. With a little bit of ability haste thrown in there, we're talking 45-second arrows. That's quite good, man. Like, Ash Arrow's coming out everywhere. Every team fight an Ash Arrow. That's going to be pretty spicy. Again, Ash herself, she can deal damage, but always the big weakness of that champion is the immobility. And obviously, you could say Gale Force's help with that, but a lot of the time, you don't want to go Gale Force on Ash, you want to go Kraken, because with that empowered auto-attack Q, synergizes really well with Kraken Slayer of getting a lot of DPS down. So that's kind of why you don't always see Ash all the time. But yeah, Brom, hide behind Brom. Champion you don't really see. He's kind of gone to the side compared to other tank supports. But E cooldown decreased and R maximum knockup duration increased later. So the cooldown of E was 18 seconds rank 1, 10 seconds rank 5. It's now going to 16 to 8. So it's a 2-second buff across the board for the E. That's nice. Can use it more often. And the ultimate, it used to knock up people for 1 second to 1.5. It's now doing 1 second to then 2 seconds. So at level 16, you've now got a 2-second knock up for Brom's ult. That is very nice. Yeah, so that's just more CC and more E utility for his E. Buffs across the board. Hecarim, E bonus movement speed decreased later, so they're making him less fast, and obviously this champion has seen a lot of strength recently, especially that they overbuffed Turbo Chem Tank. I think that item's getting nerfed in this patch anyway, so they're nerfing the champion and Turbo Chem Tank's getting nerfed, so that is probably going to hurt Hecarim quite a bit, because obviously the tank Hecarim build actually became very popular because of how strong Turbo Chem Tank was. So they used to do 25% movement speed based on time active, up to 75. It's now 25 base, but to only 65% movement speed. So it's a 10% maximum bonus movement speed. So a bit of a nerf, but also the Chem Tank's going to hurt him too. Ivan. So Ivan, I saw a lot of Ivan about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I haven't seen an Ivan since. So I don't really know what happened. I think he did get already some nerfs, but they're nerfing him even more. So his E damage, you know, the explosion of the shield, is still doing 70 damage at rank 1, but it was doing 170 damage at rank 5 base damage. It's now doing only 150. So this is actually a lot less damage, mid to late game damage. And they're saying, again, look here, so with the Daisy bug fix to 11.6 and its subsequent boost in damage, everything's been coming up roses for Ivan. So they fixed a nerf or a bug that Daisy had. It's made Ivan stronger. So they're just cutting down some of his mid-game damage, so that when he's able to snowball, his enemies aren't completely screwed. So he was just doing a bit too much damage for what is supposed to be a support utility jungler. So they're just cutting it back a bit. Kai'Sa, R cooldown increased early. Buffs the Kai'Sa. Oh, no, nerfs increased. So it's 110 second cooldown at rank 1. It's now 130. So a 20-second nerf to Kai'Sa ult at rank 1. But then a 10-second nerf at rank 2. And it's the exact same 70 seconds at rank 3. So it's just stopping Kai'Sa have her shield and ultimate and mobility a lot more in the early game, which I think is fine. Again, she's supposed to be a mid to late game hyperscaling AD carry, but she wins lane. You know, that's a lot of the time, that's like the season 11 effect. Like, there's a lot of these early game champions that are weirdly winning lane. You know, I've seen, you know, Kassadin's win lane, Jax's win lane, and you're like, are they supposed to win lane? Like, I don't know. Kai'Sa's supposed to be one of those as well. So maybe they're just kind of toning that down a bit. Kindred, Q bonus damage ratio increased, E cooldown decreased. So they're buffing Kindred. The Q AD ratio used to be 65%, it's now going to 75%, buff straight up. E also, the cooldown was a 16 second at rank 1, it was 12, it's a 2-second buff all round. And I will say, they are giving her help, but we have even watched Kindred videos and seen Kindreds in Season 11 without this buff take over games. This champion does a lot of damage. She's an AD carry. AD carries do a lot of damage even if they're weak. They're designed to do a lot of damage. So I could see... I've always kind of thought of Kindred as a really higher rating pick. Watch Kindred take over jungle in the next couple weeks in Challenger. That is a Huzzy prediction for you, everybody. Lissandra. Q base damage increased. So, you know, Lissandra... The one thing with Lissandra, I get asked occasionally, Huz, would you play Lissandra? She's not a great champion to randomly play. She's a really good counterpick champion. Like, oh, they pick Talon or they pick Zed, Lissandra. Like that's kind of Lissandra's job. That's her kind of slot in League. So yeah, they're buffing her. I don't think, unless like the champion becomes overpowered, I don't think it's really going to change, if I'm completely honest. So the base damage to Q is just going up by 10 per rank. So a little bit of a damage buff, which is always going to help, but I still don't see her role changing. I don't see people going, I'm just going to play Lissandra randomly. Like, I think it's more, oh, they picked Zed, I get to counterpick Lissandra. Like that is kind of what Lissandra does really well. Mordekaiser said, numero uno. Q isolated damage increased. So they buffs in 11.3. He's still on the weaker side. So the isolated damage increased is the Q, which I think a lot of people don't realize. Yes, his like Karthus Q. If you isolate a Q on one person, it does more damage. And obviously that kind of is going part with his ultimate. When you ult somebody, then they are alone and you can use the isolated Q. So that's where the synergy kind of comes in. So it was doing 30% more damage, up to 50% more damage at rank 5. It's now a 10% buff across the board. So if you isolate your Q on a target, it's doing a lot more damage. So you really want to make sure you're not always AoEing with your Q. You want to try and get those isolated individual Qs if you can. Rel, so, you know, the queen of tanks down in bot lane. Sorry, Leona. Rel took over, I think, a little bit. But the stun duration is going down. So the E was just a bit too strong. It was a 0.75 cooldown. It's now a 0.5 second cooldown. So that will tone Rel down a little bit. Tito. So we will be playing a Teemo game pretty soon because I've not done one in a while. And he's getting buffs. So it's a perfect time to do it. So the passive... 3 seconds, so element surprise, when he comes out of stealth, he gets a bit of bonus attack speed. 3 seconds he used to get, now he's getting 5 seconds bonus attack speed. I don't actually know how much attack speed he gets, but there you go. And then his E, which is actually mainly the thing you max in top lane, is doing a little bit more damage. Hardly anything, but it's a little bit of a damage buff. And obviously, you have to realize that, like, dude, these are so little damages. Teemo is about, like, attacking constantly to keep applying the toxic shot, so it does add up if you keep it applied. But yeah, Teemo buffs. We'll be playing him in the next couple days. Thresh, W base shield decrease later, so they're just making the shield. Whoa, that's a big nerf. Whoa. At maximum rank, it's a 40 shield nerf. That's actually quite big. Yeah, that's actually quite a big nerf to Thresh. Again, Thresh is still one of the best supports in the game. He is so versatile. The only thing Thresh doesn't really do, well, 2 things actually, but he doesn't heal naturally, and he doesn't do insane amounts of damage, but he does everything else so well. He can engage, he can disengage, he can slow, he can CC, he can save his teammates with his W. Like, Thresh is just so good in, like, how strong he is. He's always going to be relevant. Like, that's the thing with Thresh. You can always probably play Thresh if you're a good Thresh and be good. And for a hook champion, like, Blitzcrank is screwed a lot of the time if you miss your hook. Thresh is still useful. Like, that's the thing. That's the big difference between Thresh and Blitzcrank. But yeah. Tristana. So again, Tristana has been quite a controversial top champion, in Season 11. And not really for what she's designed for. She's designed to be an AD carry, but a lot of people have been playing her mid or top. So they're nerfing her a little bit. So her base stats, why? Because, again, Tristana, if you guys didn't know, by design is a hyper carry AD carry, but she's in the same kind of category we spoke about earlier, that these late game scaling hyper carries are winning lane. That Tristana goes mid or top with Ignite, usually, and they go all in at level 2. A hyper carry scaling champion isn't supposed to go in at level 2 and win. Like, she's supposed to play passive, scale, then win. So it's been a bit weird. So they're just nerfing her attack base damage. It's only by 2, but it will tone down her a little bit of an early game for her. Not by much, but yeah. Udyr. So obviously Udyr has... he's kind of taken over as well. And it's not because of Udyr. Like, that's the thing that we've spoken about. Udyr is the same champion he was 2 years ago when nobody thought of anything of Udyr. What has changed? The items. That is what has made... Like, there are some items that have just synergized so well with champions, or when the items are overbuffed in some areas, champions come out the woodwork. We spoke about it earlier. What item? Turbo Chem Tank. a running champion like Udyr gets an overbuffed Turbo Chem tank, bingo bango, he's really strong. So they're nerfing him himself, making his attack damage less in the early game, and we'll see what they do to the Turbo Chem tank in a bit. Varus, base attack damage growth increased. So unfortunately, there still probably is no reason to play Varus right now. So the problem with League is we always have spoken so much about on-hit healing or self-healing. It's not to do with like a Soraka healing or a Nami healing. It's about the Omnivamp and about the lifesteal from Ravenous Hunter and all these things. It has really hurt poke champions this season. That many poke champions, at least mages in mid lane, have just become burst mages. They just build for burst rather than poke. Because poke feels terrible. Because you do so much poke damage. Oh, dude, I poked them out using my combo 3 times, got them nearly dead, and then they auto-attack 3 times and they're back to full health. You're like, oh, that's pointless. And that's unfortunately what Varus is for the most part. Unless you are going to do the attack speed on hit build, there's no point playing lethality Varus. Like, there just isn't. It does poke, and poke is weak right now. So if you want to play Varus, you probably have to play the attack speed on hit. So, you know, you're talking probably Kraken Slayer with a Blade of the Ruined King and kind of go that build again. And obviously that build is a lot more riskier for Varus than the lethality one. The lethality one, you're way back in the background firing your arrows. The on-hit build, you have to actually be close to people to auto-attack. And Varus is very lack of mobility. And again, oh, you can buy Gale Force, but then you don't have the Kraken Slayer that you kind of need for the attack speed on hit build. So that's why Varus, I don't really think we're going to see him for quite a while. Yasuo, so they're giving him, whoa, that's a big buff. So we left Yasuo feeling winded for our nerfs of Emil Shortball. I actually don't personally feel Yasuo feels weak. He still is a champion that gets rewarded on individual players. If you're an individual strong Yasuo player, you can take over a game. I've taken over games on Yasuo, and I'm not even that good of a Yasuo. So now they're buffing him, and this is a big buff. 2.2 attack growth per level he used to get. He's now getting 3 attack growth per level. 0.8 AD more per level. That is going to add up. Ooh, I think he's going to be quite strong. Look out for Yasuo's. Potentially to be properly in meta again. YORICK Mori. So this is actually a mini rework, by the way. So a lot of people have said YORICK has kind of been completely forgotten about, and this is what Riot is going to be doing. So marked enemy champions and large monsters now awaken nearby graves. Mistwalkers now deal damage when they leap to enemies. And E-cast is being updated. So, what are they doing? Wake me up inside. Can't wake up. Oh my god. Riot memes so hard in patch notes. Marked enemies, champions, and large monsters now continuously awaken nearby graves up to my... Oh, so it does it for you? So the thing with YORICK is you chose when your graves were awakened by pressing Q. They do it automatically, so I guess nowadays it's more just like you permanently have 4 ghouls about, kinda. That's a bit weird, but okay. And then the other one is Mistwalkers now deal 200% damage when they leap to the marked enemy and large monsters. Oh, so that's actually going to be giving a pretty good damage buff that, you know, when YORICK uses E, they didn't do any damage when jumping on a target. They jump, then auto-attack to do damage. They're actually doing damage when they jump on a target. So that's actually properly good for YORICK. That's a little bit more burst damage for him. And then the ultimate, or no, the E, sorry, it used to do walk into target range to cast. Oh, they're doing this change. So if you pressed E and it was out of your range, it would make YORICK walk to the range, then that would make it cast it. This is Syndra. They did this with Syndra Q as well. But now, if you're targeting outside the range, it will just cast it in the direction, like the maximum range of that direction. Some people like that, some people don't. It's 50-50. But that actually is going to be pretty interesting for YORICK. And I still have seen some YORICKs take over games. With, you know, he synergizes quite well with some of these items. So I might play a YORICK game in the next week or 2 as well. As I said, I'm getting that little bit of top lane tingle. So that might be worth looking at. Items now, though. Essence Reaver is cheaper, but gives less AD. That is pretty good for Gangplank. So, ooh. Hey, top lane Gangplank. Let's go, baby. So we might try that out. That'll be interesting. Hello. What the hell has happened here? Why is that so big? That's not correct. EVERFROST, though. What are they doing to it? So, The damage of it is going down. Surprise, surprise. So it used to do 125 base damage with 35% ability scaling. It's now doing 100 damage and 5% less ability scaling, and it's 10 seconds longer cooldown. That is an insane nerf, and that is how strong this item has been. Literally, Riot just needs to get control of balance. The mid lane mages this season, if you guys remember the start of the season, everyone built Liandry's. No matter who you were, everybody built Liandry's because it was just the better option. Ludens sucked, EVERFROST sucked. Then Ludens got buffed. Oh, then people started to build Ludens again. But then EVERFROST got overbuffed, and literally every mage is just building EVERFROST. Every single one. Like, it's just crazy that Riot don't sometimes see that their buffs are going to be broken. But yeah. That's a big nerf. And obviously, if you're wondering what this is the Ornn upgrade. So the Ornn update is also getting the same thing. Lord Dominik's is getting a nerf. Wow. So AD carries were starting to rush this item second. Oops. When it wasn't supposed to be a rush item. So it's becoming a little bit more expensive and it gets a little bit less AD. So if people are still going to rush it second after their mythic, it's a bit weaker. But this might just kind of push it a little bit backward of people rushing this item. The Grudge, again, I don't exactly know what this item is. I think it's a lethality assassin item, but it's cheaper. So there you go. I don't know much about it. Again, the items are still new, and I'm obviously not playing every champion to play all the items. It's going to take me a while to actually know what it does, but there's that. Trinity Force has been pretty weird. That bug. Triforce has been said to be pretty weak this season. So Triforce went a bit too heavy on attack speed, which cut off its from a larger audience. In turn, we're forcing a new hand of stats and mythic passive that should make it feel a real contender for more users. So yeah, like people who were synonymous with Triforce back in the day, Jax, they just started to ignore it. And people were like, but I liked building Triforce on Jax. So what are they doing? So attack speed is going up. Attack damage up. Attack speed down. 3-fold strike now stacks on towers. And instead of giving a mythic passive, which obviously when you buy a mythic, every single legendary item you get, I think this is what this one is, you know, 10% attack speed on every single legendary that then you purchase. I'm guessing they're changing that, so you're no longer getting attack speed per legendary item. You're now getting 3 attack damage, 3 movement speed, and 3 ability haste. So, it's the Triforce. It makes sense. So that's interesting. That's cool. And then the Ornn is also getting those buffs as well. Turbo Chem Tank. So Turbo Chem Tank quickly broke speed limits and our expectations. It should have. We all looked at that buff kind of going, that's pretty strong. So they're making the bonus movement speed used to be 75%, now 60%, and the slow was 40%, but the slow is actually going to be more. So but it just makes them less fast. So, you know, the likes of Hecarim, Skarner, Udyr, a lot of these are running champions that just, it didn't matter that they were a running champion when they were running at you at 1,000 miles an hour. So that is just going to nerf that limit. And obviously, remember, Hecarim earlier got a movement speed nerf to his E as well. So he's getting the movement speed nerf to his E and the movement speed nerf to Chem Tank. So that's where the double nerf comes into play. And yes, Ornn as well. But there we go. That is it. Hopefully you guys... Wait, what's this? We've made updates to the Summoner's Rift LP formulas and general skill detection to provide smoother LP gains and losses across the board. These changes will ensure players receive LP at more predictable rates and outlier gains or losses will be less frequent. Oh, there you go. So I remember people saying that, like, oh, they'd be doing okay, and then they'd lose a game and they'd been losing 15 LP and then they suddenly lose 22. And you'd be like, why did I just suddenly lose 22 LP for that game? Probably there was a bug. There's been a lot of bugs with LP this season, I'm telling you. Holy moly. So there you go. That's something that hopefully will make our ranked experience better, everybody, for climbing. Bug fixes, upcoming skins, and there we go. But there's the patch. Yeah, YORICK interests me, so we'll definitely try him out. And we'll play a Teemo game too very soon. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed, that was patch 11.7. If you guys did enjoy, throw a like on it. Throw a comment, throw a subscribe. See you guys next time in 2 weeks for the next patch. But yeah, hopefully you're enjoying the content recently. I've actually been pretty happy with the content. Obviously, the last week or so, we went on that 11-game win streak, and that was fantastic for content. But I'm being pretty happy with how it's going. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.